In February 1979, the political balance of the Middle East changed forever when the Iranian Revolution overthrew the monarchy of Mohammad Reza Pahlavi and created a new Islamic republic in Iran. Before 1979, Iran and Israel had maintained quiet cooperation in intelligence, trade, and regional strategy despite political differences. But after the revolution, the new Iranian leadership adopted a foreign policy that openly opposed Israel and challenged its role in the region. From that moment forward, relations between Iran and Israel transformed into one of the most intense rivalries in modern geopolitics. Unlike traditional wars, however, this confrontation rarely took place on open battlefields. Instead, it slowly evolved into a long and complex shadow conflict fought through intelligence operations, sabotage, cyber warfare, and indirect confrontations. During the 1980s and 1990s, Iran gradually expanded its influence through alliances and political networks across the Middle East. Israeli intelligence agencies carefully monitored these developments, fearing that Iran's growing military capabilities could eventually threaten their security. The rivalry became even more serious when Iran began expanding its nuclear program in the early 2000s. In 2002, previously undisclosed nuclear facilities at Natanz and Arak were revealed to the international community. Iran insisted that the nuclear program was designed for peaceful energy production and scientific development. But Israeli leaders, including Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, warned that the technology could eventually produce nuclear weapons. For Israel's leadership, preventing that possibility became one of the most important strategic priorities of the 21st century. By the late 2000s, the conflict had entered a completely new battlefield, cyber warfare. In 2010, one of the most sophisticated cyber weapons ever discovered began secretly disrupting Iran's nuclear infrastructure. The computer worm known as Stuxnet infiltrated industrial systems connected to Iran's uranium enrichment facilities. The malware specifically targeted centrifuges used to enrich uranium at the Natanz nuclear site. Instead of destroying the machines directly, the program manipulated them into spinning at destructive speeds. At the same time, the system reported normal readings, preventing engineers from immediately detecting the damage. Hundreds of centrifuges were eventually destroyed or disabled by the attack. The incident revealed how modern cyber weapons could sabotage critical infrastructure without firing a single missile. It also showed how the shadow war between Iran and Israel was entering a new technological era. But cyber warfare was only one dimension of the conflict. The struggle also extended into intelligence operations and covert missions inside Iran itself. On November 27, 2020, a dramatic event shook Iranian scientific community. Iranian nuclear scientist Mohsen Fakhrizadeh was assassinated near Tehran. Fakhrizadeh had long been considered one of the most important figures in Iran's nuclear research program. The operation was carried out with remarkable precision and planning. Iranian officials blamed Israel for the assassination, although Israeli authorities did not publicly confirm involvement. The killing intensified tensions between the two countries and demonstrated how far the shadow war had progressed. At the same time, another major front of the conflict was unfolding in Syria. During the Syrian civil war, Iran deployed advisors and allied forces to support the government of Bashar al-Assad. Israel grew increasingly concerned that Iranian military infrastructure could expand close to its borders. Beginning in 2013, Israeli aircraft carried out a series of airstrikes against weapons depots and military sites connected to Iranian forces. These strikes were carefully designed to weaken Iran's regional presence without triggering full-scale war. Over time, the Syrian battlefield became one of the most active arenas in the shadow conflict. Behind these operations were powerful national leaders shaping strategy and policy. In Iran, the country's highest authority is the supreme leader, Ali Khamenei, who has guided Iran's regional policies since 1989. Under his leadership, Iran continued strengthening alliances across the Middle East and developing advanced military capabilities. In Israel, leaders such as Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu repeatedly emphasized that preventing Iran from obtaining nuclear weapons was essential for national security. Their decisions influenced intelligence operations, military planning, and diplomatic negotiations across the region. Throughout the early 2020s, tensions between the two countries remained extremely high. Missile development, cyber operations, and covert activities continued shaping the rivalry. Israeli forces continued targeting Iranian-linked military infrastructure in Syria. Meanwhile, Iran strengthened its regional partnerships and expanded its strategic capabilities. Despite these tensions, both sides carefully avoided a direct full-scale war with each other. The risks of such a conflict would be enormous for the entire Middle East. A direct war between Iran and Israel could draw in multiple regional powers and disrupt global stability. For this reason, both governments often balance aggressive actions with strategic restraint. The result is a conflict that operates largely in secrecy rather than open battle. Intelligence agencies, cyber units, and covert operatives play central roles in this hidden struggle. Missiles may not fly regularly between the two countries, but the rivalry shapes decisions across the region. Nearly half a century after the revolution of 1979, the tension between Iran and Israel remains unresolved. Both countries possess advanced military technologies and powerful alliances. Both governments continue preparing for possible future confrontations. Yet the conflict rarely appears as a traditional war in the public eye. Instead, it continues to unfold quietly through operations few people ever see. In many ways, the Israel-Iran shadow war represents a new model of modern geopolitical conflict, a struggle fought through technology, intelligence, and strategic influence rather than massive armies. And as long as the rivalry continues, the shadow war between Iran and Israel will remain one of the most important forces shaping the future of the Middle East.